iCommunity shines a light on the wide array of community news, arts and culture, and prolific charity efforts within the Asian diaspora networks. It's where the global Indian impact on the ground is celebrated. Log on at iglobalnews.com.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to today's session of the Living Bridge Conversations, the live series brought to you by iGlobal, your multimedia hub for and about global Indians. I am your host for the evening. I am Arundhati Mukherjee, and today, actually, we have only started this Living Bridge Conversation live series been a month, and it is a milestone moment today because I am joined by Amish Tripathi, a man who needs little introduction as a celebrated author, cultural minister of the Indian High Commission in the UK, and the director of the Nehru Centre London. A man who needs little introduction. Hello, Amish sir.
Thank you so much,
Welcome to our
Arundhati.
show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for gracing our platform.
I was on one side of the bridge. I've been in India all my life, and now since I'm in the UK, I'm a part of the Living Bridge now.
Yes, of course you are. You are a very
Yeah,
crucial
UK.
part of our living bridge. And but as I already mentioned, that today is a milestone moment because we have just crossed a month on this living bridge conversations. We are also joined by another guest today, and he is also celebrated on his own right. Amish sir today will be in conversation with the versatile and award-winning musician Rekesh Chauhan, a pianist and composer who has performed at iconic venues in the UK and abroad. And Rakesh also appears as a guest artist for the University of Oxford on music research production. And during lockdown last year, he was commended by Prime Minister Boris Johnson for his mental health awareness drive. We will hear all about this. And a warm welcome, Rakesh, to our show.
A very warm welcome, and thank you ever so much, Arundhati, for such a warm welcome. And hello, Amish. It's brilliant to be connected again.
Yeah, hey
Thank
Rakesh,
you
how are you
so
doing?
much.
Absolute pleasure meeting you
Really
here.
well. Amish and I have been speaking for a while, and he's been telling me all about the other side of the bridge as well. So I've been learning a lot from him.
Thank you so much to both of you. I know how busy, we all know how busy you both are. And thank you so much for taking this time out today to come to iGlobal Media on the Facebook and YouTube channel. And today I will only be acting as a bridge for this fascinating discussion. And because you two, as the viewers from the other side of the screen, you can see I am being we are all being graced by these two extremely celebrated and talented guests today. So I will only be acting as a bridge. And Amish sir, you are on the driver's seat, and over to you for the conversation.
Okay. Thanks, Arundhati. Rakesh, I wanted to jump into one question with you before we start our conversation. If I can jump into something that Arundhati spoke of. It's something that is usually not discussed in our Indian community, mental health. Often it is brushed under the carpet in case such an issue comes up. It's true in India as well, and as one finds, it's true in among the Indian community in the UK as well. What got you interested in this subject, and uh, and the things that you've done? I've been fascinated by the things that you've done in this space.
Well, Amish, it's such an important question. So firstly, thank you so much for asking that. I think the statistics itself, last year was quite a profundent year in itself, where we entered COVID. And for me, arts has always been a medium for, I would say, escape. And when I perform, it's always given me a sense of solace. And after, I do concerts, people always come to me and say, I find that so relaxing, if they've liked it, of course. And it's always resonated with me more on a meditative level and a spiritual level, in fact. And in fact, the style of music that I predominantly perform is mainly Indian classical music, but on the piano itself. So I really wanted to use music as a medium to, one, create awareness, but secondly, for people just to enjoy it and for people to have that sense of escape. Um, and I guess it might I'd love to ask this to you as well, because with writing, do you also find that in the same sense? Do you find it as an escape?
It is certainly for me, no doubt, man. Listen, I was a banker for most of my life. Life doesn't get more stressful than that. There's a reason why they call your salary compensation, in banking, because they bugger your mind through the month and then they compensate you at the end of it. Writing was in many ways for me almost a spiritual experience. I'm sure as it must be,
Yeah.
as work of music must be for you as well. Uh, it's an escape into a world that I truly enjoy. Um, and I think, perhaps maybe one of the things, Rakesh, I don't know if you agree, that maybe uh, one of the reasons why mental health issues have emerged so strongly in the Indian community over the last 1 or 2 generations. Are we losing our spiritual connect? There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
being focused on the career, earning money. These are important things, of course. We must do that. But if we lose our spiritual connection, our the disciplines that our ancestors had in the morning, doing pranayam, doing yoga, simple things which just kind of doing meditation, dhyan, which just kind of center you. Because look, life is stressful. That's a reality of life. Modern life is even more stressful. Um, and in that sense, Rekesh, perhaps you and I are lucky that our work is such, music and words,
Yeah.
that our work itself is a form of meditation. So it takes us
Precisely.
away from stress.
I
You see it
absolutely
that
agree.
way?
Absolutely agree with you, and I think the word that you used, Amish, there, meditation, is so important. And just coming back to your original question, is that one of the reasons I wanted to focus on it, because I felt that there was a stigma attached, especially between within British Indians on speaking up. And when I'm reading my messages and people are saying, they found this so relaxing, they've enjoyed it. For me, I really wanted to create a piece of work which focused on that. So I collaborated with the BBC Young Dancer of the Year on this, and we produced a story. And my brilliant friends at the British Asian Trust, they were kind enough to lend me a case study. And when I looked into the case study, the only way I could express how I felt was through art. And we produced a song on this, and we reached 1.2 million people, which actually just showed how people resonate to music, and how it's easier to deliver messages through art. I think sometimes you can, Amish and Arundhati, you can tell people loads of stats, you can tell them this is what you should do. But sometimes when you don't tell and you find another medium such as art, people just resonate and they find their way to it. And what we did, we put a call to action at the end of the video, so people who wanted to get support could actually find support. So that was the actual biggest drive behind it. And I've been lucky enough to continue the journey of raising awareness. And I feel very privileged to be able to do it through playing the piano, but something which I consider so complex and simple at the same time.
I have a question, Rakesh, for you, because the piano is an instrument not often associated, at least in India, with Indian musicians. There are many other instruments which are popular. What got you into this, man, from the Indian community? It's out of the ordinary.
It's a really interesting question. So there's two aspects. One, my father's a classical vocalist, and I studied Western classical music. So I was classically trained on the guitar, actually, which is my first instrument. I know Amish might be smiling because I know he's more of a rock guitarist himself, and he's a accomplished musician.
Really?
I used to
Wow,
I used
that's
to
a
sing
scoop,
for a
isn't
band
it?
in I'm Calcutta actually. Rekesh, we gotta catch up and jam.
We got to do that. So,
Not many
um,
people know this about Amish sir.
Yeah,
uh,
I used to sing on stage in I'm Calcutta. Yeah, I was a lead singer
Wow,
of a band. Yeah, long time.
so I'm definitely
that
speaking
makes
to
me so proud coming from Calcutta.
to a fellow musician. But and my dad was teaching people, Indian classical music, and when he wasn't there, I always wanted to translate what he was singing onto the guitar. And I just thought, why has nobody attempted to do this? And then when he wasn't watching, I would try and translate the music he was teaching on the harmonium, on the piano. And I guess the biggest opportunity came because the piano is such a available instrument in Britain, whereas probably it hasn't been much so in India compared to more traditional accompaniment instruments such as the harmonium or sarangi. But Amish, I tell you honestly, when I first started to do this, people were like, "Hey, this isn't done because Indian classical music is based on the bending of notes,
Right.
and the piano doesn't allow that, strictly speaking." But what the piano does allow is the addition of harmony, so that I can play up to 10 notes at once on the piano. So I got really fascinated and really intrigued into this whole world and exploring, Indian classical ragas on the piano. And for me, that's what really got me into it. When I first started to perform, a lot of people did say, wow, we've never seen this before. But you had purists on the other side as well, also saying, can this really be done as well? So it was really interesting, and that just challenged me even more.
Fascinating.
I
Fascinating.
was actually wondering the similar thing about Rakesh, that you mentioned a while back that you are third generation here in the UK, but you are equally trained in both Indian classical and Western classical, right? So what do you think about fusion? What is your takes? Like, some people don't like fusion and they think it's
Well, fusion can be confusion if it's not done if it's not done properly. But I think Indian music itself, even if you look at more sort of contemporary Bollywood, it's always been a sense of fusion. If you take the music of R.D. Burman, for example, the amalgamation he did, and I've had the opportunity to play on the traditional side, with people like Pandit Birju Maharaj, and more on the commercial side, people like Rahat Fateh Ali Khan. And when I'm playing in two different scenarios, I always find that there's elements of different thoughts, of different styles which are being infused. So I feel music is constantly a fusion and it's constantly a evolution. That's my 2 pence on that.
Interesting.
I can see we have already gone into the middle of a very immersive conversation here. I have a quick word for all our viewers who are watching from the other side of the screen. This show is as much as ours, it is yours. Everything is for you. Otherwise, what is the point? So please do drop in our comments and questions, and we will pick them up. Be a part of today's show and this fantastic show, and be a part of this conversation as we will pick up the comments as we go along. And it is my show as well. I am just in my mind, I'm saying it is your show. I'm thinking, yay, Amish Tripathi and Rekesh Chauhan in my show. But coming back to the questions, actually today's let's just focus at today's the title of today's show is confluence between literature and music. And so are these two art forms? What do you think, both Amish sir and Rekesh? Do you think music and art, literature are linked?
I will let Amish go first.
Yeah, in the traditional Indian way, certainly. the plays of Kalidasa, the plays of Bhasa, they didn't follow the traditional act structure that you see in Western theatre. They did have, of course, flow to the play, but music and dance was a big part of. Of our traditional Sanskrit theatre, and even the way our nataks were, the folk theatre was, our katha traditions were very music driven. So if you see even our traditional epics, they're not written in the form of prose. They're actually written as poetry. Ramayana is essentially the first poem. That's what the Indians believe. Even the Mahabharata is, in fact, actually, even historically, it is the oldest text written in the form of poetry. Uh, Either Gilgamesh text or the Ramayana Mahabharata could be considered as old, but Gilgamesh is not written in the form of poetry, Mesopotamian Gilgamesh. So, therefore, music and words and storytelling were always, in some ways, amalgamated or went hand in hand in India, and you find that in Bollywood movies as well. I'm not suggesting Bollywood movies are as classical or high quality as Sanskrit plays, of course not, but they're fantastically entertaining, but they follow the traditional Indian way, which is why so many Bollywood movies are also musicals, right? Um and the way poetry is written often, songs are written often. It is often to just convey a story, convey a philosophy. Raj Kapoor would have made an entire movie to explain a love triangle, and the poet put it so beautifully in just a few lines. Dost na raha, pyar pyar na raha. That's it. The story is through in beautiful poetry and music. So this has been a part of the Indian tradition for thousands of years. Music and words um, going together.
It's really interesting, Amish, and I think one of the things that you just said there about it being a story and a narrative, I'm going to sort of give two lenses on that. I definitely do think, Arundhati, that literature and music and all art forms are connected, because whatever we do, it does transpire into artwork. So whatever it is we are reading, whether it's a poem that's been written on the tube underground, or whether it's some classical literature, or even one of Amish's award-winning books, it does when we are digesting this, it does influence our music. But I also want to give a talk about the other side of the coin. I have a slight confession to make, actually, and that is that my grasp of the language of Hindi isn't great, and I often perform with a lot of singers. So you can imagine, these great singers who come from India, and they begin the conversation in Hindi with me, and I'm like, oh crap. Could you translate? And there could be thousands of people being expected in the audience, and we're doing a sound check, and they're thinking, oh, what's going to happen? We've got a British musician who's joined us, who's been recommended, and about to do a concert, and they're singing in Hindi, but he doesn't understand the language. What's going to happen? And often the style of Indian classical music is improvised. So usually what I do as a musician, I try and one, embrace the sort of ambience and the aura that's been set by the singer, and I think more recently an understanding of the words does help to understand how the music should be portrayed as well. But I've always gone with the energy of what's happening on stage. So there's two parts. Yes, it is interlinked, and on other points, you can just let the work do itself.
Fascinating.
Um, you were telling me about Rakesh. You were telling me earlier about the show, the music album you did with Sangeeta Datta. Would you like to talk a little about it? Sangeeta Datta had been to our show
Oh yeah, we
only
spoke earlier on
once.
the phone. Yeah, with Javadakta sir. Absolutely. So that was really interesting actually.
Yeah,
Javadakta ji had translated a Bengali
Ravindra
poem,
Sangeet.
yeah, into
Yeah,
Hindi, and
yeah,
I believe it's probably one of the first times it's probably been done.
yeah,
And the idea was to and actually a very poignant point actually, the theme of that was around the monsoon season. So if anybody actually gets a chance to listen to it, a lot of the piano that
yeah. We just played the video on while on in conversation with Sangeeta Datta. To our viewers, also you can go back to our archive and catch that interview. It has been a fascinating interview, and the music album is so brilliant. I didn't know you were also a part of it, and it's so fantastic because both you and Sangeeta Datta are living bridge, as I was saying. So yeah, both of you took part in it, and amazing.
absolutely it was brilliant. And there was also another musician, the brilliant Murad Ali Khan, who plays the sarangi on there as well. So yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant to collaborate on that.
You have a show at Symphony Hall, right? Coming up.
So I recorded my album
Ah,
recently in lockdown at the Symphony Hall, which releases on the 9th of December actually.
oh, nice, nice. Okay.
So I
Is that
can't.
the video we are to watch and hear today as well?
That's
The
right.
Symphony Hall.
You've got an exclusive of the video.
Yeah, we will watch it in a bit. In a bit. But before that, I would like to ask Amish sir. I'm alphabetically biased. I will ask Amish sir first. That sir, this character, I think this is kind of a cliche question. You must have been asked this several times, but on this iGlobal platform, I would like to ask you: the characters of your novels are so human. They are anything but superhuman and godly. They are so human as well as so fantastic. Would you please tell us what is the inspiration behind, like the characters like Ganesha in Shiva trilogy, and you have also brought in the societal taboos and deformities around that. Um, what is the inspiration? How do you conceive such fantastic characters? That is my question.
No, thank you for that. Um, no, the way I see it, it's driven more actually by Indian philosophy. Is the way we approach the divine in our dharmic philosophies. Um, there are four ways of approaching the divine. So one is where there's a Nirgun Nirakar God, formless God, which is there in Sikhism, which is there in some philosophical schools of Hinduism, and some parts of Buddhism, Jainism. So Buddhism, Jainism can be more atheistic religions. So there's the Nirgun Nirakar God. Then there's a second concept of God where there's an Akar form. There's that God has taken a form, like Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma.
Yeah, yeah,
And then there's the third concept of God where, or goddess Durga, goddess Shakti, which is an Akar concept. The third concept is Avatar, or as the living bridge on this side goes, Avatar concept of God, where God takes a living form, as a man, woman, or any other creature
yeah,
does his or her karma, because we have goddesses as well, and then goes back up. And then there's the fourth concept of God, which I find most empowering, that the God exists within all of us, not just human beings, every single one of us. The
yes,
very word namaste means I bow to the divine within you. So it is us acknowledging every single time that we acknowledge that the divine is in every single person, the two of you, everyone watching this, and not just human beings. Why should human beings be special? the divine is in everything. All animals, all plants, all inanimate things. The divine is everywhere, right? I find this
Amazing.
fourth concept most inspiring, most empowering in a way, right? Because what that means is that it's up to us to discover the divine within. And so I write my books with this fourth concept in mind. So it might appear like I'm writing of human beings, but actually I'm writing about gods. All of us are gods. And I'm writing about a journey of discovering the divine within. That's how I see it. All of us will discover the divine within as well, either in this life or many lives later, but we will ultimately discover it. I find that most inspiring. That's how I tend to write my books. And that's at the core of the dharmic way, that we have to behave like we have the divine within us. And if we believe that, then how should we behave? How dharmically should we behave?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Amish, if I may kindly interrupt, you've written the Shiva trilogy, which is one of the fastest selling books in Indian publishing history. Lord Shiva is the god of dance, and how did that impact the way that you wrote the book?
Oh yeah, very good question. Yeah, Rekesh. Yeah, because Lord Shiva is the Lord of dance and music, right? Lord of the arts, actually, in a way. He's the Nataraj, which is Lord of
Yeah.
dance. You'll notice that most Indian classical musicians, and India is a liberal place where we celebrate each other's religion. So you'll find Hindus, Christians, Muslims, whoever may be a classical musician, they'll normally begin their performance, Indian classical music, with a prayer to either Goddess Saraswati or Lord Shiva, because either you want knowledge or you want the god of the arts to come. And Lord Shiva is like, as one of my younger readers had said, the dude of the gods, right? He's a brilliant dancer, brilliant musician, uh, and he's so obviously that touch of him came into the books, right? So, in fact, one of my most popular scenes in the Shiva trilogy was the first time I showed Lord Shiva dancing. Uh, so there's this friend of mine who's a film director, Karan Johar, and he told me like he fell in love with Lord Shiva at that scene. He said that dance is just divine the way he dances. Yeah, and that is Lord Shiva. That's the way we celebrate him. He's the god of the arts. So anyone who writes on him, obviously that stuff comes uh, into the books. How
That's,
informed are you by your culture in how
that's,
your how your
that's
music emerges?
That's really fascinating to listen to, Amish. For me, spirituality has had a really profound impact. For example, one of the first things I was taught actually was before I go onto stage perform music was actually to touch the stage, because we consider it a sacred space,
Yeah.
and the music that I perform actually, for example, if I am doing a concert that's not so commercial, but for example, if I'm performing, a rendition of Indian classical ragas on the piano, most of it is improvised, and there's only so much preparation you can do. With 95% of the music being improvised, you are sitting on edge slightly. And one of the great things that I've always found that is having the chance to connect with the audience, and when you have that rapport, that energy, that always translates itself. And I feel having when we talk about culture, each of the performances are based on ancient scales, which are known as the raga system, and there's a lot of connection, and they are based on stories and mythologies, and there's a lot of cultural elements to that. Some of them are based on seasons.
Wow.
So you are trying to incorporate all of that within your thinking, which then translates into the playing. So it's very much a process. So the cultural element of it is the biggest element of it, because it's the understanding of what it is I want to portray, which comes from the title of what I'm going to portray.
Tell me one thing. I have a question, just as an outsider to the UK, because when you're performing a raga, right? I mean, there are people and desis will know what you're doing, right? But many in the audience would not be desis; they'd be native British, Um and our culture can be very complicated. For non-Indians to understand, because we are such an ancient culture, and things which come to us instinctively may not be so obvious. So, do you try and explain what the concept is? Do you try and explain there's a morning raga, there's an evening raga, there are moods, there are emotions, there's a god or goddess this raga is dedicated to, and therefore it has this mood. Do you try and explain that so that they can appreciate it better? Or
Absolutely,
kind
and
of just go with the music?
what you've said is that more recently, actually, especially when I'm performing in Europe, I find that the audience is so well educated, especially the Western audience, because they have such an interest in, for example, yoga, and yoga has a correlation with classical music, and when they've studied the music, they've actually studied where the music comes from. Which has made me feel incredibly privileged about the culture that I have. That it's become, there's this fascination element, but there's this strong, rich cultural heritage which backs it. And when I've explained myself, which I do at the beginning of the conversation, at the beginning of the concerts, people will come and say, I've read about that as well. And I find that really, really inspiring.
Fascinating, yeah, fascinating. Okay, there's a guy called Utsav who wants me to say something to Prakash. Hi, Prakash. Thank you so much for liking my books. And Utsav, I hope that is good enough. You want me to say something more, Prakash? I hope you like my next book as well.
Sir, what is this next book?
The next book will be. This is really a meandering conversation. I'm enjoying it.
I know, I know, because I'm hijacking it, isn't it?
Yeah, no, my next book will be the fourth one of the Ramchandra series. So it'll be out by early next year. I'm close to finishing it. It's called War of Lanka. Prakash and Utsav, I hope so both of you like it when it comes to. And someone saying great to Vinit okay is saying great to see Rakesh bhai and Amish ji. यार मुझे इतना बुजुर्ग बना रहे हो यार. Great to see Rakesh bhai and Amish ji together on screen. Rakesh, we got to
Vinit
do
Johri is
more stuff
saying,
together.
yes,
We do, absolutely.
you are most
Hi, Vinny.
welcome, Vinit Johri. I struggled so much to bring both of them together, planning for last 3 months. Busy people.
Yeah.
And I will ask more about, sir, I'm not letting you leave Amish sir so easily. You will have to tell us more about your book and your more escapades, more upcoming projects, and Rekesh to you as well. But let's just take a very tiny, short break. A very short break. We'll be back.
iGlobal Radio is the brand new hub of podcasts for and about global Indians. News, views, interviews, wellness, money matters, and much, much more. Tune in to iGlobal Radio at iglobalnews.com.
And we are back. And before I go into the discussion with our guests today, Amish Tripathi and Rekesh Chauhan, a little bit about these Living Bridge conversations. These have been curated by iGlobal. And thank you so much to everybody from iGlobal team, my team, and Utsav Gajar, who is handling the tech part today in the backstage. Thank you so much for this wonderful platform. And I must tell you that these shows do stay tuned in at the iGlobal social media channels for updates on our regular streams with an array of guests that embody the British Indian diaspora living bridge. And of course, as I already mentioned, you, our viewers, are at the heart of these conversations. So keep the comments coming in. Coming back to the conversation, Amish sir, so tell us a little bit about more about the book. Give us some scoop, some spoilers. I won't mind that. And I have another question after that.
No, I mean, War of Lanka will be the fourth of the Ramchandra series, and the story moves forward from the kidnapping of goddess Sita to the death of Ravan. I mean, I'm sure all of you expect Ravan to die. I hope so. So that's not much of a spoiler. I'll not say anything more.
Okay, okay. Is this going to be the sequel of this one?
Yes, yes, yes. So Sita was the second
This
book.
is my Bible.
Oh, thank you. So Sita
I
was the
love.
second book of the Ramchandra series. Ram, Sign of Ikshvaku was the first one. Sita, Warrior of Mithila was the second one. Ravan, Enemy of Aryavarta was the third one. And now what will be coming is the fourth book, War of Lanka. So it's essentially my interpretation of the Ramayana over a 5 book series. Yeah.
Sir, tell me, you are such a prolific writer, and um, like you do a lot of other things as well. I wonder, for me to write a feature, I will put it on the backboard and I will keep on procrastinating. I will do Excel and all other work, but I will not write that feature because creative writing, any kind of writing, is such a creative process, and it takes some kind of a bandwidth to do it for common people like us. But how do you manage it so well? How do you find the time? And tell us about a little bit about it.
Very simple answer. I'm basically a workaholic. I do very little else in life. I work 7 days a week, 14, 15 hours a day. So I'm either writing or working at the Nehru Centre, or I'm also working on a TV program. I was just shooting for that recently in India. So I'm a workaholic. I do very little else. That's how I write. And writing for me is an escape. Everything else is, even the Nehru Center. I don't know if I should say this publicly. My boss may not like it, but in the Nehru Center for me is work, right? But writing is spiritual. It's what I live for. Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
whatever free time I have, I will write.
That's amazing. For me, if I have to write and if I am too stressed out or burnt out, I listen to music, just music, no lyrics.
Okay.
That helps me to
Listen
write.
to
But that's
Rekesh's music. That'll calm you down.
Rekesh,
Brilliant. I can put on
Rekesh
your
can
album.
make his own music. That's so blessed you are, Rakesh, really. You can make your own music, isn't it?
Yeah, but quite interestingly, actually, I was thinking about this yesterday. In fact, when I listen to music, and I don't know, I'm sure Amish whether you do this too, but do you listen to other people's, or when you're reading other people's book, do you read it from a critical angle in the sense of analytical angle where you're sort of analyzing how it's been written? Because especially when I'm listening to other people's music, there's this part where I love to enjoy it, but there's part where I listen to it a few times to understand how they've gone about the arrangements or what they've done orchestrally with it. So I'd be interested to hear how Amish reads other people's work.
Actually, the thing with me is I mainly write fiction. I've written 9 books till now. There are only 2 non-fiction, 7 are fiction. But my reading is the exact opposite. I mainly read non-fiction. I don't read that much fiction. I might write more fiction, but I read non-fiction. And non-fiction, therefore, how non-fiction books are, right? Someone makes normally how it's written, they would make a hypothesis and they use the book to buttress or support that hypothesis. So you naturally end up judging that is this something which you would absorb, which would make sense, because all my non-fiction learnings then goes into my fiction books, right? So for me, my fiction books are vehicles to convey some philosophies and thoughts. So I read this fascinating work of this guy called Peter Turchin on overproduction of elites, on why societies decline, and I found the entire concept fascinating. So I've actually worked it into War of Lanka. how to convey this concept. So I try and read non-fiction that way, right? That can I learn something?
Yeah.
And I like to read stuff. Rekesh, I don't know if you do that. Arundhati, I don't know if you do. When you read, I like to read stuff which would make me uncomfortable. Like, yeah, I may not agree with that point of view. Let me read it. Let me try and learn something. Because if you're always, and we do that so often these days, right? When we're on social media, anywhere, we just want to follow those who reinforce our point of view. We don't want to hear a different point of view. And the only way to grow, at least according to me, listen to different points of view, right? Even if you agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. But that's how you grow. You should be challenged. That's the way I see it.
That's such a
Amazing
brilliant
learning.
That's a brilliant point, Amish, and I can definitely resonate with that because when it comes to music, I grew up with an eclectic range of music. So whether it be sort of reggae music or hip hop even, and I've always found that listening to other styles of music, it's influenced the way I play my music, and then it's given me a different interpretation.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as I said, with the nature of music, some of it's improvised, and people will say, "Oh, it's got a a flamenco edge to it," and I'll be like, "Actually, yes," because I've never realized that, but because maybe I've been maybe in a past life or but definitely in this life, listening to whether
Imagine Rekesh dancing away on the flamenco.
whether it's on like Sierra or something.
No, actually, Rakesh, we do have another request. Would you sing something?
Oh God, I'm even a
Good
terrible bathroom singer.
No, go for it. Go for it.
So I don't sing, I'm afraid. Sorry.
But tell us, Rakesh, what is the? Do you have a muse? Any inspiration? Do you have a muse behind the compositions?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of my, I think a lot of people seem to get inspiration from things around them. I definitely am inspired by just, I would say where there's where it's like a phase or period. Like I find when I'm really busy, it's very difficult to create music. But when there's space, I feel like I'm much more creative. And yeah, my inspiration is definitely more in that space. But I'm definitely inspired by a range of different artists, like I said earlier, which help influence my music.
Fascinating.
What is coming up? Upcoming project, Rakesh?
So the next thing at the moment is this album which I have coming out, which I recorded live at the Symphony Hall. So the nuances of the pieces, they date back to the 9th century, and I was really privileged to record it in the heart of Birmingham, which is next year hosting the 2022 Commonwealth Games at the Symphony Hall. So the album will offer a taste of what the diversity the city has to offer, and it's such an iconic stage. I've been privileged to have performed there quite a few times, and for the first time last year, I had the opportunity to play in a space where there was no audience, so I really got to experiment with the ambience of such a grand and magnificent hall.
Wow.
Sir, I have got a scoop for you, Amish sir. Is it true that you are going to produce a film based on your book? Is it accurate?
Yes. So I'll not be acting in it, but yes, I've started a production company in Mumbai, and we are. Excuse me. My latest book, Suhail De. We are producing it. We are producing it ourselves. The script has just been finalized. So it's looking good. Let's see. Hopefully, year and a half, 2 years, you should see the movie.
Okay. Right. And we will.
But I'm not acting it. I should just clarify.
I wish you were. Why not? I wish. Your fans, all of us, all your fans would be so happy to see you on screen sometime.
I will destroy my writing career as well.
That's impossible.
It is being amazing discussion with you all, both of you. But anything else you would like to ask Amish sir? Today you are on the driver's seat, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm so sorry I've been hijacking ever since.
No, you've been
But
fantastic, and great to be on the same platform as Rekesh. And Rekesh, we got to get you to the Nehru Centre once again, and looking forward to listening to this album, man. I'm sure it'll rock.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Aaron Datti, and Utsavano, who's been working behind the scenes to on the technical side for bringing Amish and I together. I'm incredibly always inspired by Amish's prolific work, and like you said, I have no idea how he manages to do all this. And I can just see a comment from
Anila,
my brilliant friend Anila. He said that maybe I should do the music for Amish's movie.
Done.
So I think the deal has just been signed.
Good idea.
Does Anila get agent's commission, Rekesh?
There's
My
definitely
kind
some
of
royalties
thinking.
going to Anila there, but and that's quite fitting with the subject of this talk itself, where literature and music meet. So thanks, Anila, for that brilliant idea.
Thank you so much, Amish sir and Rekesh, both of you, for taking this time out. And we have come to the end part of our show. We will just quickly watch the video that have been keeping our viewers waiting for so long. Can we play? Utsa, would you please play the video? Amazing. Amazing, isn't it? And the end bit was amazing, really.
Thank you so much. It's so kind of you.
I never thought I would see a jugalbandi between a piano and a tabla.
Neither did I.
Yeah, that was fascinating.
Thank you so much.
That was amazing.
And just to
Who was
answer
playing?
yeah, just to answer Utsav's question and your question there, who was playing? It was the incredible Surdarshan Chana on tabla, and the rag was called Bhageshri.
Nice.
Right. Amazing. So on a very high note, thank you, Rekesh, so much for letting us play this video on this platform. And on this high note, on this musical note, we will end today's show. Thank you, Amish sir, once again, and Rekesh as well. And maybe at some point, maybe out of the StreamYard here from the virtual media, sometime we will like to have both of you on our studio sometime together.
It'll be my pleasure. Good to see you both. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much. As
iEntertainment is brought to you by iGlobal for all the latest film and series reviews, story interviews and cinema listings covering Bollywood and beyond to reflect a truly pan-Indian entertainment spectrum. Check out the latest at iglobalnews.com.
So that's the end of today's show. And remember, you can also play back any of the past sessions under the video section of iglobalnews.com or on our Facebook and YouTube channels. And for more Living Bridge conversations, stay tuned at iglobalnews.com. This is Arundhati Mukherjee signing off. Bye-bye.